You should totally put it in here. Good
All right.
morning, everybody. We're having a technical difficulty Tuesday. How's that for a thing that should not be a thing? How's it going today, Michael?
It's going good. Another day, with today being the first time we don't have chat enabled, which is one of the best parts of MCR. But we'll work through it. We can still see your chats. I know it'd be great if we had an IT guy or gal on the MCR, which we do. They're in the background. They are working it out, and hopefully we can fix it. I'm going to assume, like I always do, that's probably just a setting somewhere in the good old host account. And maybe it's because we have no, I don't know. We'll move forward though. But nice to see everyone today. If you want to hop in the live YouTube chat, and go into YouTube if you want to see each other's chat. Otherwise, you can use the Q&A area. And as always, if you are new, you can ask any questions you'd like around Bluebeam. We have a topic that we are going to cover today, and it's not going to take the whole time. And this is a time for anyone to ask any questions they have around Bluebeam or Xcon. What else, Jason?
Yeah, this will be an interesting one with our normal avenues of communication being a little disrupted, but we'll still make it work. So use the Q&A, use the YouTube chat, and then we'll just copy paste it and flip it all around. And we'll have to read it so you can see what everybody else is saying, and maybe you'll have to guess who's saying what. But before we kick off our topic today, which is actually pretty cool, we have yet another avenue of communication. And since Michael and I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, DJ CJ was kind enough to start us off with a MCR Morning Coffee Review LinkedIn group. So you can join us over there. We'll do some little previews and stuff like we used to do back in the old days, and just sort of, again, work on building our community. We're trying to spread the love everywhere and let people know resources are available to them. And, we can bounce ideas off of each other and just have a good old time as we normally do, and just not have to wait for every Tuesday morning.
Yeah. If you had a question or a workflow that you wanted a little help with, you can now get answers, not every Tuesday, but every day in between now, even the weekends, because sometimes I check LinkedIn on the weekends. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I like it. Okay.
Guilty.
So yes, we're guilty as charged.
Yeah. It's, I like LinkedIn for a lot of things. It's not so crazy as the other social media platforms. And there is a Bluebeam user group on Facebook, which is actually pretty good, but it also involves Facebook. So that's why.
Yeah. Sorry.
It gets a little out of control sometimes.
I was about to answer a question as you were talking, as always.
Got more questions?
There's a question about the YouTube link. It is this. You guys should be able to see in the chat because everyone said that they were able to see in the chat. Or even if you don't see this, you could go to YouTube. And we should have subscribed at some point anyways to ATG USA.
Whoa.
And
there it is. It's live.
Yep.
It's like Inception. I just watched that the other day.
I'm going to pause it. Can we see that? Man, I got these little gnats that are going on. Where do you see the chat in this?
Right there on the top right.
Oh, so you could just pause this.
See, now
see the chat.
Now I've got FOMO because
I'm just going to stick it over here.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You could do the same, right? Yeah, because we could just pause. And then we don't have to look. Is there a delay on YouTube?
There must be.
There's got to be like a 2-second delay.
But that's all right. We'll make it work. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
Right.
And we'll see the chat. I got the chat. There we go. Okay. We're good. Do you have the chat too?
No, I'll work on that as you get started here.
Very slight delay. Yeah. So we'll just pause the, you can just pause the YouTube and watch through Zoom and have chat on the second screen.
Oh.
If that works for everyone as well that is attending. But as always, you're allowed to ask any questions around Bluebeam as a whole. for those new folks that are joining us today, if there are any new folks. But let's kick it off. Today, we are going to talk about custom. Did you create cool names? I forget for these series like we did before.
Now I feel like I should have created cool names for them. Nope, I didn't. We're just counting stuff.
Okay.
Count some sequences.
I've been very busy. Jason sent me stuff to review and I just didn't review them, unfortunately. So I'm going to get a minus beer when I see him here soon. But we are going to be talking about count and sequences and how to create custom count and sequences. I'll just go through and I'm going to use a typical set that I've created before when I was in industry. It's going to be a structural set. We'll go through and maybe we'll go and count some of our columns in place. Those, and we'll create our custom symbols around them as well. So as you go through and you get ready to create things for some type of itemized count, there's two different ways that you can go through and do this. Now, and Jason just taught me an additional one because I never even thought of that either. So it'll be cool and interesting to kind of recalibrate that in terms of having some type of area measurement grouped within it. So then you could get a measurement within the group. So learn something new. We'll go through and talk about how we can create these though. So if I want to create a custom symbol, I can go through and create whatever type of symbol I'd like. And it's probably going to be an opposite type of symbol. So I can visually see the difference of something going over versus a snapshot. If there's something that you wanted to do that is an existing kind of symbol, like a column, for instance, right? You could go through and create a snapshot. So you could go and just go edit G and snapshot this as your symbol that you would be using moving forward. Ooh, I didn't know that it wouldn't copy that same line weight. Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah. So going through and creating this into your new symbol as placement, you'd probably want to change the colors though. But I'm not going to use this as my symbol. I'm going to go through and create my own. So I'm going to use a polygon and we'll just use a triangle for this next one.
Ta-da. It's harder than it looks.
So the other portion is, okay, so I've done this, but if you want it to be a sequence, you have to have a value in here. And I don't want to make an editable tag, but we can cover editable tags as well. So if you make a markup with some type of text in it, you can always edit the text later on. A perfect example of this would be some of the out-of-the-box symbols. So something like this, which would be an interior elevation. Oh, come on. You have to have a scale for this? Oh, it's because it's scalable. You could go through and change text, right? But for this instance, I'll create one with a text to have a visual increment. And we'll just put 1. And for those folks that like to center these things, little tips along the way of knowing how things can be centered and aligned, because maybe it's not completely in the area that you want it to be. I'm going to select the text, go to style and use the center align and also the middle. And then from there, you can select the text and select the shape by holding shift. So I place my text in here and then I'm going to select, I'm going to place my text in here and then select my shape, and I can right click after the two are selected. I could have, I guess, done a wide selection too, which is down here, but then we can go through and select my alignment and we can align to center. And then we can go back and align to middle.
Technically, that's probably correct. It's just the triangle's a little.
Yeah, it's a little off. Okay, so we'll just deal with that. And I think it's because this isn't straight. And I wish that you were able to hold shift. Oh, you are. Okay. Get it straight.
You're trying to go for an equilateral triangle.
Yeah. Okay. So as this has been placed, what you want to do, and I guess I haven't really tried it with a wide selection, going through and just grabbing all and just seeing what it randomly guesses is the order. But if you're going to create a count, you need to be aware of how you select them in orders of placement. Well, I guess not really, because even when the count change, it's going to be changed to a label. So just being aware of order of grouping. If you aren't going to create a count, you need to be aware that if you select the text last, the text comment is going to change. So you always usually select your text first, then the shapes that the comment gets assigned to the shape versus the comment that's in the text, which is the value that you see visually. But going through and just creating this, I'm going to also create a hatch for it. We'll do a fill blue. That opacity, we'll change this line opacity too. Okay. And we'll make this green. There we go. So now that I've created my custom markup, you have this thing called the tool chest. So the tool chest, oh, I've already done this too before. Huh? Funny. So going through and seeing your tool chest, you have your recently made markups, right? So this hasn't been grouped together yet. I need to select my text, then the shape, right click, and group, or Control G for the hotkey. So hypothetically, if you're going through and creating these all the time to create a company standard, you probably would want to assign this to it is a hotkey, but assign it to a key number for your keyboard or your mouse, right? So that you just press the button and it automatically hits Control G for you, or reassign it to a value on your keyboard. I have some additional items on my left-hand side of my keyboard, but you can then make it a little bit more efficient for you to go through and create a lot of these. But again, going here, we'll create it as a group. And then now I see this newly made markup in my tool chest. So we have the tool chest over here on the left-hand side. The tool chest is going to be the item that saves all of your recently made markups. And you'll see that in the tool set called Recent Tools for those folks that have never used the tool chest before. And I'll just kind of midway go through and explain this. If anyone needs a little bit more explanation, just use the Zoom chat or the Q&A, I guess, area. We'll have Mr. Artley checking all of the above so that we can go through, because it's going to be a little bit harder for me because YouTube chat is smaller.
I'm on it.
Okay. So going through, I'm just trying to look at it. That's why. But going through and creating our symbol, we are going to then add it to a tool set. So you cannot go from your tool set and create it from your recent tools. It has to go into My Tools or a custom created tool set. So tool sets are kind of like an Allen wrench set. That's my analogy that I always use when we're talking about it. Basically, you have your toolbox, you have an Allen wrench set. And I used to call it Allen keys, but I guess no one else calls it Allen keys besides myself. So Allen wrench set lives in your toolbox, hopefully, unless you have kids that, don't place it back, or maybe you are like your children and don't place it back, right? That happens to me sometimes. I don't put my tools back in the tool chest or my toolbox, but that's where they live. They live in the tool chest. Your Allen wrenches live in your toolbox. And then usually you pick out the correct Allen wrench, or I call them Allen keys, for the correct bolt, right? That we're going to go through and either loosen or tighten. Basically, that's the same thing here. We have our markup, which is our Allen wrench that lives in a tool set, that lives in a tool chest. What do you think of that analogy, Mr. Artley?
I keep my Allen keys up on my my wall, so it's not relevant.
Man, so I need to update my things.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. One question here, though. So as you were going through this, and you created your triangle, which David thinks he can do it about 10 clicks. So maybe this is a competition coming up. So start practicing. But Ed had a question about the pick order. So while you made that group, you have to pick one before the other. Which one and why?
So if you go in and group, right, it wouldn't matter for the count because the count gets assigned to a label. Actually, I don't know. We're going to test it because I'm going to do it the wrong way. If you go through and I select the text here, we can see that the comment is associated to the text because if I change the comment, it is the text that we're seeing visually, right? The comment is the text visual for a text box, right? Whereas a shape, it still has a comment associated to it, but it's associated to the shape itself. So if I go the order of the shape first versus the number, then the number is going to change or the text box is going to change later. So going through in that same thought process, and then I group these, right? I have a value here now. And if I type this in to give it some type of metadata, so let's say I'm just creating some type of visual item that has a number associated to it. And I wanted to give it some data before I make it into a, this is not changing it into a measurement feature. So count, because what I'll want to do is I'm going to test it though, if this still does it when I create it into a count. But if I change the value to something different, like, column, or this is going to be, a 12 by 12, because I wanted to label it that, the comment changes, right? But if I do it the opposite way, which is group first the text, then the shape, and I group it together, I can then see that there is no value here. And I can give it that metadata that I'm going to see in the markups list without it changing the text. But this text is still dynamic. If I wanted to change this to something else, I can, but the comment lives with the shape, not the text.
It's super confusing, but that's why the grouping order is so important.
But my other thought was I wanted to try this. So,
what are you trying?
Okay. So I want to see if I do it this way, the shape, then the number, the text. And if I go into create it as a count, I don't think it matters at this point because you can't change the comment in a count.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't matter the order if you're creating a count. Because at the point of it creating the count, there is no comment associated to counts or measurements. It's subject and label.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So comment thing in here / question. If you right click on the text and hit group, then the order of selection doesn't seem to matter, but it matters only if you use Control G to group them. Question from Alex in the chat. And I think the right click and the Control G should be identical in function.
And it was, yeah. So for me, right, if I ungroup these and I use the right click, same thing here, then holding shift, select this, then right clicking group, I still have that number value.
Okay, so ungroup them and then do Control G just for.
Oh, okay. Yep, I get it. So now Control G.
Same result. All right. That's all we wanted to test.
Well,
not the same result?
Not same result.
Okay.
So
this is a weird one. Nice find, Alex.
Yeah. So if I thought he meant the right click.
Yeah.
It's right click Control G negates the order, meaning it doesn't matter the order of selection. Because if I were to group this, it would have assigned it to this, right? The text. But Control G, yeah. Yep. So Control G, regardless of order selection, but right clicking grouping. matters order. So the order does matter.
Pretty weird. All right. So you've got your group selected.
Okay. So now that the group has been created, you can do one of two things. Again, you can move it up to a tool set that you've created or an Allen wrench set that you've created or an existing one. So from here, you can go to your tool chest and then create your own. For those folks that have never created their own before, you can go to, I think those first ones that we had of intro of how Bluebeam Review works, it was blooming into review, and you can learn this, but I'll kind of gloss over it. You have the option of going to manage tool sets, and then from the manage tool sets, you can go through and add your own. You just give it a title. You'll probably want it to display because you're going to add it now. Show in all profiles. So for those folks that are new to review, hopefully we know what profiles are. If we don't, I highly recommend going back and going into blooming into review and then coming back and watching this. But basically, you can show it in all profiles or one. It's not particular. You can't say, I want this one, and this one. It's either all or one, the one that's active, and the way it's saving. So you can just title it, save it, and then from here, you can drag it into wherever you'd like. Once it's been dragged to wherever you'd like, you have your options then to decide what you're going to do with it. You can right-click. Since there's a number value in here, it could be a sequence, which I do not prefer. Some folks do prefer to be a sequence value. I do not. But you can go into here and you can create it as a count is what we'll do first. Now, once it's a count, it's a measurement. And when it has a measurement, you can change the subject matter and the label for it. This will show up in your markups lists as well. And I need to see what my C2s are, and they are HSS. So we'll just go through and say the type of comment this is our columns. So we can sort our data. And then we'll have a different size as the markup themselves. 6 by 6, 3/8. Okay. So now that data lives with our count. And as we go through and place our counts wherever we need to, we'd probably search, but I'm just going to place a couple of these. Now that data lives down here for an itemized count. So we have columns. We have one markup count column created, and we have the number of counts placed too. So it's going to itemize them as grouped together. Let me resume count. So then I don't have to worry about, ooh, that's a 3. We'll just place them out here. Basically, it's not creating every instance placed and showing it down in the markups list, right? It's going to have them as a collective columns, what the size is, group it as a whole item together. Make sense? Yes.
Here's
looking at Mr. Arley. Okay. So next one is going to be the sequence, which I don't prefer, but some folks do because they are not going to use the markups lists, and that kind of bothers me, but that's your workflow. They want to visually count on the screen, and I guess it kind of comes down to the old style of pen and paper, but even then they probably just highlighted and had an Excel sheet next to them that they input it into. But you can always right click. If it has a number value, you'll have sequence available, and you can define the sequence. Now, defining the sequence value, you get the option of deciding what value you want it to be, numerical. I don't know what IIs are. It's probably like Roman, right? Or alphabetical. So you have your options of going through and selecting what type of value you'd like. I'm going to use numerical. It could have a prefix and a suffix to it, value. And you can start your increment at whatever value you wanted. It could start at 1, and it can increment maybe by 2. You decide how that works. And then every time you place your sequence, if there's a second document, this is kind of the cool thing about sequences because you can restart it, right? So basically what you're able to do with your sequences is that you can restart them per document, or you can go through and do it per page. So some folks are like, usually do the page and they don't, it defaults to document, but some people do page and they're like, it's not continuing the sequence when I'm on a different page. Well, then you need a document. If you wanted to have it and require you to place a whole different complete sequence for a different page, then you need it to be on page. And then renumber when markups are deleted. Of course, I couldn't see why you would not want this, but that would mean if you placed a sequence value and you deleted one, it wouldn't renumber all of them in the order of what it was before or after, right? So I'm going to hit OK. Now, these are two different symbols. You can see the count one I did first has the measurement symbol, and the sequence has a backwards play button or back. Skip, right? No, because skip has two. Maybe it is a backwards play. Previous page symbol is what I'll call it. But now I can go through and select this, and as I'm placing it on my screen, it's going to increment the amount of what it is. The only thing I don't like about this is down here, every single instance gets its own instance in the markups list. So the count grouped them together. The group of every instance incremented on the page, but down here gave me a single markup for everyone placed.
Exactly. But it looks better on the screen or on the PDF. And you could minimize that group 7 if you wanted to and collapse it. But this is where you could add more detail. I get the frustration on both sides.
So I don't prefer this, but some folks like this because then they can visually see. Some tips with them, though, just as we're using them. The sequence, since I said you can delete it, you can right click and you can delete the item and it will recount, right? You can change the sequence number. You can resume sequence. You can select the sequence itself, the entirety of them. You can auto size the text box of the sequences. That may be an option just because if it oversizes, right, too many values. So you can change the sequence number if you wanted. This one should be, 5. It wouldn't work because it's not valid in the order. We'll do 2. And then we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. You have the option of going through and doing that. You can resume the sequence. So as they've all been placed, you can select the sequences and move them around if you needed to. Those are kind of your options with sequences. Now counts, since we did the count, and let me move the ones away that weren't counts from here to here. Delete you. So these are counts. Once you select the count group, you'll see the nodes populate for the single grouping of counts that you have. And from here, you can see which one you individually have selected. It is marked with a yellow color. The ones with green are just part of the grouping of that individual count. Now, as if I go through to here, I can delete individual counts out of the total count realm. That is just by going through and making sure if you select shift, you can select the node and make sure you deselect your original selection. But as you go through, you can select multiple ones of these. When they're yellow, you can then right click and you can, don't hit delete because that deletes them all. But you can delete columns, which is the ones you have selected from the group. So it says from the group. So it's letting you know it's not the whole group. Delete is the whole group, but it's removing those 3 from the group. So I can go through and delete that. The other one is going to be resume counts. So if you wanted to go and resume the counts, you can. You can also split the count, but if you're splitting the count, it's with whichever ones you have selected. So be aware, if you want to split the count by these 2, you can split the count, and now these 2 are their own counts of the same type of count that you've created. So now you have
them.
Sorry?
Can you merge them back together?
Yes. So down here, you can then select your multiple columns and you can merge counts back together.
Ta-da. That was David's question.
Oh, I thought you were trying to just trick me.
No.
And I was like, look at that, Mr.
You're on
Harley.
fire today. I'm backing off.
Okay.
Ooh. So over in the Zoom chat, Chris has got a question. Can you make it a legend and then have it update? So can counts and sequences be added to legends?
Actually, Mr. Chris W, if you subscribe to our good old LinkedIn page or myself or Mr. Artley, we post quick tips, and I just actually created the quick tip on the legend feature. So basically, this was because there's no native way to just right click and save legends. So you have a bunch of legends, which makes sense that you can just add it to your tool set. So we'll cover both for you. So basically, yes, you can. Now that I've gone through and created my own, you could create a legend from something that's in your markups list already. We're not going to do that, but you can. You can right click. You can be selective of what you want. Why isn't? Did I freeze or did Revu freeze?
I think I'm still good.
There we go. So you could be selective by holding Control Shift. You can then right click and go to legend and create new legend. So you can create a legend from here, but that's not going to auto populate. And I think that's what your question was, Chris, but you can go through and auto populate the data for it. And that would be better fit for something that you've created in your tools. So if I go to my tools here, I can create a legend under, sorry, I just said you can create a legend. You can go to any of your tool sets. There's the gear symbol to the right of it. Have to have my instructor hat on sometimes during these. The gear symbol, and then you can go to the legend and create a new legend. This is just going to create a legend from what you've created already. And I hope my legends aren't broken because this has happened before. And Revu is just not playing nice today. So from here, you can go through and then decide what type of data you want to show. And I'm pretty sure this is just, I know this has happened before. Yeah. And I don't know why it happens to me, but the data isn't populating as well, maybe because I don't have titles on. No.
Yeah, we've had this happen to you a couple times, and I don't remember.
It happened to me in a
was.
training. Yeah, I had to exit out of the PDF and try it somewhere else.
Interesting. But that little clip that you made on YouTube is functional.
Yeah, if you want to go to my LinkedIn page and copy and paste, you can.
Okay, on it. On it.
I'm assuming it's the PDF because I think it's that PDF that it's happened on before. So here, I have it here. It's working on this one. So if I go through and it's probably something, did I have a signature in one of these?
Saving a legend in Revu right there.
Weird. But okay, so as you go through and customize these, and Mr. Early is going to post the thing still regardless, but you can go through and you can create your legend for whatever data you want to show. So up here in your dynamic options bar, you have columns, you have edit columns, and then you have description. And then you can go through and we want count, and we can see what we have here. So if we've organized this the way we wanted it to be, maybe some grid lines with some additional point values so you can see them, maybe with a black outline. Hey, I took the time to customize this legend the way I want it to look for my specific tool set, right? Before, you're like, well, you can't right click and just save the legend. But what you can do is add it to a tool chest, which is kind of like right clicking and saying save a legend. After I thought of this, after I did the video, I was like, Michael, that is like saving the legend. So in the video, I said there is no native way, but there really is. And I was going to go and edit it out, but I was like, whatever, it's already done. But you can go to my tools, add it to my tools. Now, anytime you place it, it's created the way you want it to look. So then you can just click this, place it, right? And it will itemize for any ones that have been placed. So any of these that have been placed, it will add them just like that.
So magically updates depending on what you want it to show.
Yep. And this is because it auto updates because it's from your tool set. So whatever tool has been added to your tool set. And I think I've done it where you can add a new one and it still works. So regardless of you adding new ones later on or forward, it will still populate them open and show them in the tool set in your legend. Whereas down here, you have to select which ones you want to go into the legend if you go that way. Hopefully that helped, Chris.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, you can also save your layout as default. I don't like to set defaults though. I wish this tool was never here.
It causes more problems than I think it solves.
Mm-hmm.
But some folks really like it.
Yep.
Because tool sets are too hard.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And Chris, if you've had ones that you've created already, you could just go back and select them and right click and then add them. So, because the mark, unless you flatten, but then you can always unflatten. Hopefully you've allowed unflatten, but yeah.
Pretty magical. All right. So you've done a count and you did the sequence, and both of those were using your little triangle shape. Are you limited to polygons or can you use any symbol?
You can use any symbol for a sequence, but you have to have some type of text to fill the sequence value in, right? So, yeah, you can use any shapes you like. By all means, get very creative on what you want to show. I mean, even with this text box, you could have just used, you didn't even need to create a shape because you can add a shape to them. So that would be for sequence, but for your counts, you wouldn't want to do that because then it's going to change. Well, I guess you could even do it for that. I'm just keep thinking of doing like a punch list with comments and stuff. You wouldn't want to do that for those, which we're not talking about today, but we can if you have questions around those as well. Now let's get to that good part of what Mr. Arley was telling me about before I even started this. And I'm not going to explain it because it's probably someone else's workflow, but we're going to go through and I want to.
I'll tee it up.
Okay. Tee it up.
So I was doing a review demo for a firm, and they do a lot of geotechnical work. And he kind of threw the question at me, and I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of anybody doing this. So I figured it out on the fly, and it worked out well. So I wanted the opportunity to pitch Michael the same question, and I've kind of already teed it up in his brain a little bit. But what the question was when they're taking borehole samples through the site, right? So they want to have borehole 1, then borehole 2, borehole 3, and they're doing all this on a PDF. And then from there, they don't just want the borehole to be a symbol, they want it to be an area measurement. So they can see that, oh, this 8-inch hole, cumulatively, they're going to be drilling this area of holes through the site. So can you do a count or sequence with an area measurement that will add up those areas and count them at the same time?
So that was his question. I'm going to ungroup these and I'm going to make the base plate size of what this is supposed to be with a at scale rectangle.
Oh, nicely done.
And try to up him for what he did. So I'm going to do 12-inch tab, 12-inch enter. And then I'm going to group these together because I have that size of measurements from my at scale. So square foot 1, and I get all that data. And I'm going to wonder, does the order matter? We'll figure that out. So yeah, I'm going to do this one last. And then I'm going to group these.
You're putting 3 things together? You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I can't.
You
This is not going to work.
I just want an excuse to use that reference.
It does work. It's right here. Look at that. Okay.
Wow.
So now all of that data lives with. So this is what's mind blowing, because you could have some measurement data that kind of is an itemized package of placement, right? But that's kind of the same thing with custom columns anyways, assigning another custom column, but now you can add a measurement to it as well, which I didn't know and didn't think of doing. So thank you, Mr. Jason, for finding this out for me. This is definitely going to be a new item to show. But yeah, so now I can go through and place this with my columns, and I could label them as subject and have the, I don't know. Let's see. Let's add it into here. So the comments won't be able to be changed, but the subject will. So you may just have to oh, you can even put in label now. That's so cool. So without even being a measurement, I could have labeled it. Now my label would be the size of what it is. And then my grouping, which usually you only get label if you have a measurement, but it probably gave you a label because there's a count measurement in there, which is at scale. That's really cool. So now I could do columns, whatever the size of the column is, have an itemized placement of those. And I could create a count. What will it do? Oh, it removes it.
Boo.
Boo. Bummer. Okay, going back to this though, I'm still excited about this. I can go and add the size of the column and then the amount that it is. Just unfortunate because you can't create an account and it loses its measurement, but that's fine. At least I can get an itemized grouping of how many I need from here, right? As long as it says column, I could still see the amount here versus, under count of placement of these. But that's pretty cool. Didn't know that. Now I do.
See, and that's a different workflow than what I had ended up coming up with. So this is kind of exciting. I like your symbology here. It works out well. The way that I had done it, whereas I had just did an area of that circle, let's say an 8-inch hole. So I did the 8-inch circle, a measurement, and then I put the piece of text there that said, 1, 2, 3, and then I gave it a prefix of BH number.
Yeah.
So borehole 1, borehole 2, and then it would keep adding them up. But this way, you've got the same symbol as well, and you've got extra data. So I think this is the winner that I've never seen before.
Yeah, so we can do basically a symbol with some information that comes along with it, which is cool. The only downside is that you can't change it into a count. Whatever, it's fine. Because you can still use the amount down here, right? So if I would have given this a column, and then gave it that size, so I could just copy this, paste this. Now when that is placed, ooh, that is weird.
Give you label and the comment.
That's cool. But yeah, now that when that's placed, right, I could still go and say, okay, well, let me go by label, and I can see how many I have here versus, It's unfortunate, but it still gives me a count. But now I have an itemized, well, how many base plates do I need with that too? And maybe what is the square footage of base plate steel that I'm going to need overall per square foot? What are the pieces of steel as a manufacturer do I need to buy? Lengths of steel to cut for my base plates overall.
Right, because that would then be your type 1 column, right? And your type 2 column would have something different.
But you could have done that here too, where you just you just counted how many C2s you had and then multiply that by your C2s and then get you your value of what you need for your sheet lengths that you need to purchase for this job.
But going off of our column conversation from last week, which you can find on YouTube, you'd be able to then add up everything, customize your columns to give you cost, to do all types of things to make it easier to export without having to manually do math.
I mean, this would be a great way also to get an itemized list of information for install. So I used to do custom windows and door manufacturing and used to create production packets for the plant, but we also used to communicate with people out in the field and just making sure they had everything appropriate for install. So that would be a great thing too, is if you're going through and installing things out in the field, you could place these custom items that have a bunch of data with them at each interval. And when you're out in the field, count what's there as well, because you have a list that should have had these items, and it gives you your own, back checking to make sure everything is there in the field appropriately.
Very clever.
All righty. Any questions through this whole cycle?
I think you blew their minds and everybody's slowed down a little bit. But while we're collectively thinking about that, another plug for Xcon. So Bluebeam Extreme Conference in San Diego, August 23rd and 24th. That's right, San Diego, California, aka the best place on earth. I mean, the weather's always perfect. We're going to be at a marina. It's going to be pretty awesome. And there's people from around the world who are going to join the collective Bluebeam community as a whole. There's going to be a whole bunch of good stuff. The class list is up on the website. You can't really miss it. If you go to any Bluebeam website, it will pop up and talk about Xcon, but a few MCR regulars will be there. Michael and I will be there, along with DJ CJ and some more of our newly logoed ATG crew.
and we may or may not have something additional planned, right? I'm giving the eye to Carrie over there.
I mean, tricks up our sleeve. Come on now. And yes, we did find the yacht Airbnb, but we opted. It's just not lavish enough for us.
Or I think we don't want to be too lavish because that's not who we are.
That's true.
Yeah,
we'd be just as happy, And anyway, but yeah, we're gonna have a good time and we're gonna learn a lot, and we'd love to see you there.
Who knows? Maybe some regulars will get some cool limited edition swag from Mr. Artley and myself. Who knows? We haven't come up with any game plan yet. Somebody's going to be traveling somewhere soon, and maybe we'll talk about some cool things, limited edition stuff for the MCR.
This is true. We got to get on it because it's just barely over a month away. So we're going to have a good old time. And we'll be, August 23rd, looking at the calendar, by golly, that's a Tuesday. And, Tuesday, you know what we do then. So we'll be doing MCR live somehow, somewhere, and it's going to be epic. So
David asked, are we planning an MCR clubhouse? I don't know. That's a great question for Carrie.
It'll just be the hotel bar.
Yeah.
You can come find me.
Mr. Early will be there at a set time every day, and I will be there with him. Who knows?
There we go.
Once we know from our marketing team, we'll let you all know. Or not just the marketing team, someone that's part of the MCR, right? Who is DJ CJ, who's also part of the marketing team.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have some fun. So
I guess that's a great question. Would you, if you're attending Xcon, if we had maybe the first day, would you all like to go and meet Mr. Arley and myself somewhere, maybe to have a drink, either alcoholic or non-alcoholic, kind of just to, ease into Xcon and what we're going to be learning and just talking and finally meeting? Would that be something, that you would all be interested in? I guess would be the question there.
Well, Doug's teaching a class here on the first day, on the Tuesday. He's got the first class after the keynote. So probably no morning drinks for Doug. But some people, you need that to get the jitters out. So
no, I'm saying Monday, like Monday night. Everyone gets in that day, wants to come say hi, meet you for the first time, meet everyone for the first time. Would that be something?
Yeah. We'll figure something out. I think my flight is going to show up at like 3:00 or so on Monday, but it looks like Beth's going to be there Sunday. We'll nothing's been finalized yet. We'll have some to do some fun.
Ooh, we could call you, David.
Yeah. Get the FaceTime from the marina.
Yeah. So see, maybe Monday's not great because everyone is going to be there late and wanting to get stuff out of the way. Maybe a Tuesday.
Yeah. We will have to see. But
Yeah.
it is a lot of money. However, there is a great you pull up the website, there's that convince your boss template that already shows you, gives you some good talking points on, how to convince your boss and sort of the information that you're going to bring back. And, hopefully like some of the stuff that you've learned from MCR or other community things and other tips and tricks that you've learned from, using and playing with Bluebeam Revu that you've shared with your team. Imagine supercharging that and going to learn from people from around the world and see some of these amazing classes. I'm thrilled. I'm so excited for Doug's class. I'm excited for all sorts of other classes in there to just go learn and absorb and then bring that back to you guys here at MCR.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, good call, Doug. There is a global Bluebeam user group thing. So Bluebeam user groups or bugs exist around the globe. And there's a one for Minnesota. There's one for Arizona, where Michael and I are respectively. But there's a global one on Monday that's open to folks who are going to be there. So they're going to do some special stuff Monday afternoon or evening that is free to attend if you're going to Xcon.
That can't be that long, though, a bug, right?
I would imagine being like an hour or so, but
yeah.
Still,
how long are those?
I don't know. I've never been to one.
Okay. Is Liz doing a special one there, Doug?
Yeah.
Liz we'll shout it out.
She's doing tips and tricks.
Oh, at the bug.
No, at Xcon. I think she's on the list. If you go to the agenda.
No, she's teaching. Yes, I know that. Yeah. I was he put Liz's tips and tricks. I don't think she's posted one in a while, but she's also on LinkedIn. You can follow her page. She has a bunch of stuff there too. Yeah, a class. Yeah. So you can actually look at an overview now of sessions. And we can go, it's weird that they don't say the names here, but I know Doug's.
You got to click on the class.
Yeah.
Interoperability is Doug's class. There you go.
Why did it back? Oh, it's because I clicked outside of this.
So yeah, I forgot the name of her class. Oh, they're Review Jeopardy with Funds and Games. Oh, I like that. I like Funds and Games. Nope, that's CAD Group Australia.
Okay. Well, aside from that, as always, make sure you comment and review us. And if you give us below a 5, you will need to let us know. And if you don't, I will be emailing you for questions on how we can be better. Also, there is a new LinkedIn social page that was posted as well. I'll go and copy that back so that you can get questions answered prior to Tuesdays. Heck, and even let's say this too, I think, Jason, we should say, if the topic is something that needs to be covered from the group, we would even be willing to do that too, right? And throw a curveball at Carrie and just say, hey, well, someone wanted to talk about this, and this seems like a viable topic. Hey, we could even do that if you join the group and you start talking about things that you would like to see in the morning coffee review or just questions answered. We can also do too.
Yeah, we had Patrick come save the day a couple of weeks ago and present a workflow, and we're looking for the same type of thing. So if you've got something cool that you want to share, by all means. This is not just the Michael and Jason and DJ CJ show. This is a community thing. So we're all about it. So post your ideas. Let's have a conversation about it, and we're more than happy to share the airtime.
Yep.
That's what this is
Anything else?
all about.
Indeed.
Well, with that, we've had some technical difficulties this morning with our Zoom chat. So thanks for hopping over to YouTube and for sticking with us over there. And we'll see what happens next week. And let us know in the comments if you prefer the YouTube interaction versus the Zoom interaction. I know they both have their pros and cons, but we should probably standardize it in some way.
I think it was great. As always, the resilience here with the morning coffee crew is top notch because we were able to come back through and you all were able to help out as always. So thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Next week isn't our special week. We have something special happening the following week. But till then, thank you all. And hopefully we see you all in the LinkedIn chat. Feel free to ask questions or comment or let us know how your day is. Either one works.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week.